If you travel to the picturesque city of Munster in Germany today and stand before the towering spire of St. Lambert Church, you will see something deeply unsettling. Look up. Way up, near the top of the Gothic stone tower, hanging in the cold air are 3 heavy rusted iron cages. They have been hanging there for nearly 500 years. They are not decorations. They are not architectural quirks. They are a warning. And once, a long time ago, they held the rotting remains of 3 men who tried to bring heaven to earth and ended up creating hell instead. This is the story of the Münster Rebellion. A story of a doomsday cult that hijacked a city, a tailor who crowned himself the king of the world, and a descent into madness so profound that history has tried to forget it. The year is 1534. Europe is tearing itself apart. The Protestant Reformation has shattered the Catholic Church's absolute power. In this chaos of religious rebellion, a radical, extreme group emerges: the Anabaptists. They believed the end of the world was coming, and it was coming soon. Driven out of neighboring countries, thousands of these desperate, fanatical believers flocked to the wealthy, walled city of Munster, believing it to be the New Jerusalem, the only place on earth that would survive the apocalypse. Among them was a young, charismatic, and deeply delusional tailor named Jan of Leiden. Jan was a master manipulator. He didn't just preach. He commanded. Through theatrical speeches and terrifying prophecies, he whipped the Anabaptists into a frenzy. Within weeks, the cult took control of the city council. The wealthy merchants and the Catholic prince-bishop were expelled. The gates were locked. The city of Munster now belonged to the cult. But their utopia quickly turned into a nightmare. Outside the walls, the furious prince-bishop gathered a massive mercenary army and laid siege to the city. Inside, Jan of Leiden declared himself the king of the New Jerusalem. He abolished all money. He ordered all books to be burned, except for the Bible. He instituted strict, forced polygamy, taking 16 wives for himself. Women who refused to marry were imprisoned or executed. Disobedience was punished by death, often carried out by the king himself in the town square. As the siege dragged on for months, the winter of 1535 set in. The New Jerusalem began to starve. The food ran out. Then the horses, the dogs, and the rats. When there were no more animals, the people of Munster boiled their own shoes. They ate the leather from book bindings. They ripped up the cobblestones to eat the moss and insects hiding underneath. Children were dying in the streets, yet King Jan sat in his stolen palace, feasting on hidden rations and promising that God would soon rain fire upon the enemy army. But God did not send fire. Instead, he sent betrayal. In June of 1535, 2 starving, desperate citizens slipped over the walls and made a deal with the prince-bishop. In the dead of night, they opened a small, unguarded gate. The bishop's mercenaries flooded into the city. What followed was not a battle. It was a slaughter. The starving cultists were no match for professional soldiers. The streets of Munster ran thick with blood. King Jan of Leiden and his 2 top lieutenants were captured alive. The prince-bishop did not want them to simply die. He wanted to make an example of them, an example so horrifying that no one would ever dare challenge the church's authority again. In January 1536, a platform was built in the town square. The 3 cult leaders were chained to posts. For hours, executioners used red-hot iron tongs to tear the flesh from their bodies, keeping them conscious through the unimaginable agony. Only when their bodies were completely mangled did the executioners finally end their suffering by piercing their hearts with a burning dagger. But even death was not the end. To ensure their memory would be a permanent symbol of terror, their ruined bodies were shoved into 3 custom-made iron cages. These cages were hoisted to the top of St. Lambert's church. For decades, the bones of the false king and his prophets looked down upon the city they had destroyed, picked clean by the crows, slowly turning to dust in the wind. Today the bones are gone, but the cages remain. They hang in the sky over Munster as a silent, chilling monument to the danger of absolute fanaticism. They remind us that when men believe they speak for God, there is no limit to the evil they can do to their fellow man.